Alright everybody, what's going on? It's Thundershot, and today we're going to be comparing the roster size and differences between Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 and 2. I hadn't really seen anybody crunch the numbers on this yet, and it was something that looked interesting to me. In case you guys don't know, a couple days ago, we got a couple screenshots leaked that pretty much showed off the entirety of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2's playable character roster. We got almost every single character revealed. There are still a few locked spots, but even with the locked spots in place, we can still tell roughly how big the size of the Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 character roster is going to be. If I haven't shown the images of Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 character roster on screen yet, I will be shortly, but real quick before this video gets underway, guys, I just want to point out this video is going to be a serious video. I know with my last non-playthrough upload, it was a Thundershot HQ. It was a Thundershot HQ upload, and just to be clear, if there's no Thundershot HQ in the title, it's a serious video, it's informative for the most part, and I hope you guys jump in on the discussion on this, because I do really mean it. If it says Thundershot HQ in the title, it might be a little bit more fun for me. That might be Thundershot having some fun, so keep an eye out for those and just know the difference. It's something I do want to keep doing on my channel, because a lot of people seem to enjoy both styles, but I just wanted to point it out before this video gets started. This is 100% serious, and I don't want to confuse anybody with that. But anyways, moving on to the video, I've crunched a lot of numbers here. I've been doing a bit of research between Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 and then what we've seen in Xenoverse 2 and some assumptions, and we're just going to do a bunch of comparisons today. That's the whole point. So for starters, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1, when it first released, if you did not get Day 1 DLC, which was Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, as a pre-order bonus, if you did not get Day 1 DLC, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 had a total of 44 characters, or 45 with the Day 1 DLC. We're going to go with 44 characters on launch day for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, on the other hand, is going to have a total of 87 characters with Day 1 DLC, Day 1 Goku Black as the bonus, or 86 characters total in its character roster on Day 1 launch, without DLC, obviously, for you to play as. Now, the one thing that a lot of people are very upset about from what we've seen in the leaks so far is that in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, evil characters actually count as their own character slot. This wasn't the case in Xenoverse 1. They were paired with their matching character already. Like, for example, if you were on Broly, you could push L1 and go to a different variation of Broly that was evil. Characters have different variations in Xenoverse 2 the same way they do in Xenoverse 1, but for some reason, evil characters have been moved to their own slot. We're going to talk about that later. I'm going to crunch the numbers for you guys now. We're going to figure all this stuff out now, and then in the second half of the video, it'll be me giving my opinion on it and how I feel. But for now, we're just going to do some number crunching. So the evil characters that we know for sure that we've seen, not that we've seen, but very predictable. We're suspecting evil Frieza because we've seen him in trailers before, evil Cell, and evil Kid Buu, and evil Broly. And these are going to be all the evil returning forms that were also in Xenoverse 1. To add some new evil forms on top of that, evil Yamcha. A lot of people are confused about evil Yamcha because one of the screenshots makes it look difficult to see him. He's below Yamcha and above the Cybermen, but a different screenshot reveals it's a little bit more clear that it is, yes, evil Yamcha. But yeah, evil Yamcha, evil Cooler. There might be two evil Cooler forms. I'm not 100% sure given the locked characters. There might be an evil Meta Cooler and then an evil 5th form or 4th form Cooler. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but we're just going to stick with one evil Cooler form for now. So we're evil Yamcha, evil Cooler, evil Super Janemba, because Super Janemba is a new character, evil Omega Shenron, and evil Mira off to the very right side there. Now we get into kind of a weird spot here because we've also seen evil Turles and evil Lord Slug, but given that there are still locked portions underneath them, I don't want to count them 100% in yet. I will later, but for right now, those slots are maybe looking like either a Pool or Raspberry underneath Captain Ginyu, and then possibly Nail under Lord Slug. It could be moved around. Evil Turles and evil Slug could be their own playable parts underneath Captain Ginyu and underneath Slug as well. It's hard to say, but we have seen them already. I'm just not 100% sure they're going to be playable, so I don't want to include them yet, though we're going to discuss that later when I'm kind of giving you guys my own thoughts later, but for now, we're just going to get back to the number crunching. So to clarify, we're looking at about 9 total evil forms taking up their own slot. This is assuming we do get evil Frieza and evil Cooler and evil Cell from their lock spots, which I think are safe assumptions. And then it would be 10 or 11 with Turles and Lord Slug, but like I said, I'm not counting them. So we're just looking at 9 total evil characters taking up their own slot at this moment for me. And if you subtract those 9 characters I mentioned, we're looking at 78 total slots, 76 without Day 1 Goku Black DLC bonus. So what we're looking at is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 1 having a total of 44 characters on its release with no DLC and no Day 1 exclusive. And then we're looking at Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 with a total of 76 characters with no day one pre-order bonus. And this is a number I think not a lot of people wanted to look at. We're looking at an almost 35 character difference from Xenoverse 1 on its day one launch to Xenoverse 2 on its day one launch. Almost 35 characters of improvement. Now, after you factor in Xenoverse 1 DLC, they got a total of 14 characters in DLC, 15 if you count day one pre-order bonuses, getting them to a total of 59. They're just shy of 60. And again, Xenoverse 2 without evil characters counting as their own slot is 78 total, and that is including day one bonuses, since I'm doing that with Xenoverse 1 now. Xenoverse 1 with day one and all DLC, 59 characters total. Xenoverse 2 gonna have 78 characters total without evil characters taking up their own slot. And that's still impressive. That's still 19 characters. That's still almost 20 characters while giving Xenoverse 3 DLC packs worth of characters. I'm going to talk about this more later when I kind of give you guys my opinion on the whole thing. But those are numbers I think not a lot of people have broke down or looked at necessarily. People are upset about evil characters taking up their own slot, and we'll talk more about that later, like I said. But when you look at the actual numbers, I don't think it's quite as bad, or I don't think, Dimps is quite as lazy as people are pointing them out to be. And that was the main point of the number crunching. I just wanted to show off the differences in rosters between day one and even after all the DLC. Just wanted to put a perspective on it. I don't think everybody's looked at it this way before, and it's something that I kind of wanted to share with the community. There's a couple more things I want to talk about before I get to just expressing my opinions. I have this little list called wishful thinking, and it's things we don't know for sure, but we can probably figure out. One of the wishful thinking is that maybe not every single character that has an evil form takes up an evil slot. And again, this is kind of stretching it, but it's not necessarily an impossible thing when you think about it. For example, Xenoverse 1 had evil Xenoverse Trunks, it had evil Adult Gohan, it had evil Gotenks. We don't see those guys anywhere around here. We don't even see slots for some of those guys to be put in. And I'm going to say it's not impossible we still keep evil characters for, again, example, Adult Gohan, Vegeta, Gotenks, Xenoverse Trunks, whoever, we don't, like the good guys that we don't see have an evil form here. It's not impossible that they still have an evil variation on their bodies. It's just they might not have been altered much from the first Xenoverse game, so maybe they didn't get their own character slot, or they might not play a role in the story at all, and therefore not have, enough need to be their own character slot, and they might just stay a variation on their main character. I know it sounds weird, but if all the evil characters we see that take up their own slot in this game actually play a role in the story mode, we're looking at possibly different variations of the evil characters. That's one of the reasons I think they probably split up evil characters, is whereas before you had, for example, Broly. I think Broly had 1 or 2 forms to himself, and then he had an evil form. My guess for Xenoverse 2 says that Broly is going to have 2 or 3 forms for himself, but then evil Broly is also going to have a couple variations. And if the game comes out and I'm wrong, I'll eat my words, I'll eat my foot, I'll curse you, Dimps, for splitting up the character roster like this, but I think there's a legitimate reason that they're splitting the evil ones away from the regular ones, and that's because I think we're going to get multiple variations of the evil forms. So it's one of those things where if you pull up Super Janemba, for example, if Super Janemba was in Xenoverse 1, he might get 1 or 2 Super Janemba forms and then 1 evil variation, but in Xenoverse 2, there could be 3 or 4, maybe not Janemba, but like Broly or whoever, there could be 3 or 4 different Janemba forms, and then on top of that, 2, 3, 4, 5 evil, like dark Janemba forms, if you will. And to stack those all up on one character was kind of hefty. I don't know if you guys remember trying to cycle through to find the right Goku from Xenoverse 1, but Goku has like 7 or 8 variations in Xenoverse 1. I guess the point I'm trying to make is the decision to do that, while we do get kind of dicked over on the amount of characters we get and the amount of characters we thought we were getting, it might not be all bad. But my wishful thinking, coming off that to round it back around to Turles and Lord Slug, is if you look at the character slots and where it's placed, I don't think there's room for Turles and Lord Slug to each get their own evil forms. The main thing that sticks out to me is in no other evil form scenario do you see the evil form come before the actual character. And if you look at Turles, his evil form would have to come underneath Ginyu, and he would be the only one that we see, the only character that we see that actually has that happen. But we know from trailers that evil Turles is at least in a cutscene of the game. So to me, and again, this is wishful thinking, this isn't confirmed, it probably isn't the case, but to me, if Turles is a playable character, he's going to be a different variation of the regular Turles. Same thing with Lord Slug. I still think Nail is going to fit into that slot. A little plug, by the way, I watched a video from Swag Kage. I was going to do my own prediction video on who I thought these mystery characters were that we don't know yet. Swag Kage did the video, and he did it about as good as I could have, so instead of making the video myself, I'm just going to shout his channel out, and his video, if you want to look at a prediction video of who he thinks are the mystery characters are, link in the description down below. I think it's a really solid video, and I think he's right on almost everything he predicted, so that'll be in the description. Anyways, if there is an evil Turles and an evil Lord Slug, they're going to have to be tied to those characters, is my prediction. Side note, I wonder if Giant Evil Lord Slug is going to be a transformation or if he's going to get his own character slot somewhere else. Kind of takes me back to Battle of Z, where all the giants were their own form somewhere else. Anyways, another bit of wishful thinking I had, and this is another one that I'm pretty sure it isn't the case, but just in case, I do want to take a look at it. If you look on the slide that has Frieza, and then on the very bottom right, you see in the faded out 3 tiles, you see Cooler. Then if you kick it over to the next slide that we see, it's the androids. It's Android 17, 16, 18, and then the Cell. But if you look on the left side, there's just 3 locked character slots, meaning there might be, and it's no guarantee, and I don't know if the people who released the leak said anything about this. There's no guarantee, but there is potential for there to be a slot that we don't see, a slot of 3 locked characters or 3 unlocked characters that we couldn't see in between the Frieza and Cooler slot and the Android slot. And this is highly doubtful because the only thing I could think of that would go in this slot would be Android 13 and his goons, perhaps, if there was a missing area between there, because what else fits in the timeline between Cooler and the Android saga and the Android showing up? I guess it could also fit Android 19 and Gero, perhaps, but it's hard to say, and I'm almost 100% sure we haven't seen any of those characters in trailers, and at this point, you would think we would have seen them by now if they were going to be in the game. But yeah, there is room for a mystery slot there, a mystery slot or two. We could get Android 13 and we could get Android 13 and Android 19 and Dr. Gero, Android 13's goons and all that. It's highly unlikely, but again, that's why it was under my wishful thinking category. And now I kind of opened up about this a little bit earlier, but we're going to kind of get to my opinions on it and how I feel about the whole thing. And this is going to sound weird, and I hate being the guy to do this because people talk to me all the time like, Thundershot, why are you always defending the developers? Why are you always doing this? Why are you always doing that? And it's hard, and I don't like being painted as that guy, but I keep doing it because, number one, I have an understanding of what game I want. I have an understanding of what I wanted from Dimps. I know what I wanted from them. I think they are going to deliver on a lot of the things I wanted from them. I also have an understanding from, the game developer's standpoint, looking at the fact that how much time they had to make this and what the initial requests were. Like, for example, I know some people are almost upset to see Zarbon and Dodoria show up in Xenoverse 2, but I also remember when the game first came out, off the top of my head, the main characters whose names I heard that weren't in the game that people wanted to be in the game, I heard a lot of Cooler because even he made the Battle of Z cut, and then I heard a lot of Zarbon, Dodoria, and Nail, and all those characters have made their way into the game, and now people are like, oh, well, where's Bojack, and where's Baby, and this and that, and I totally see where you're coming from because Bojack would be cooler than those guys, but I wasn't hearing Bojack's name thrown around when Xenoverse 1 dropped. But maybe it's different for a lot of you guys, I don't know. I think the main reason a lot of people are upset about the evil forms taking up their own slot is because there was a trailer or an interview, I'm not sure, but something came out a while back that said there would be over 85 playable characters in Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, and that got everyone really hyped up for the game. That got everybody really ready to go for the game, and then they come out later and come to find out these evil slots take up a form. And I think it was almost like taking candy from a baby a little bit. They waved the, oh, our roster is going to be really big this year in front of you guys, in front of us, right? And then as soon as the rosters get leaked, it's like, oh, but not really. It's kind of smaller than we said if you don't count the evil forms. Because technically, like I said before, the roster, instead of being 85 plus, is just under 80, which isn't that huge of a difference. But it still upsets a lot of people to have, 6, 7 plus characters taken away that they thought they were going to get. I think people being upset about this, and I think the way fans took it would have changed if they never would have really announced how big their roster was, or if they would have announced how big their roster was at the same time they announced that evil characters took up their own slot. I think it's just people getting excited for the big roster first and being allowed to get excited for 85 plus, and then all of a sudden getting pulled back and no, it's actually slightly less than 80, which again, I don't think is that big of a jump when you look at it. Anyways, this video has gone on too long. I'm rambling a bit much. The main points of this video, the main bullet points I wanted to make of this video is that from Xenoverse 1 to 2 on day 1 launch, assuming my assumptions about evil characters are correct, there's about a 33 character increase, even if you exclude evil characters as their own slot. If you exclude that, there's about a 33 character increase from Xenoverse 1 to 2 on day 1. Even after Xenoverse 1 got 3 different DLC packs, there's still almost a 20 character difference after 3 DLC packs, and a 20 character difference post 3 DLC packs is not too shabby in my opinion. Another thing to remember is that evil characters being their own slot might be worth it. They might not be. They really might not be. They might just be one variation, but if evil characters themselves, like evil Omega Shenron or evil Yamcha, whoever, have 2, 3, 4, 5 different variations to their own evil character slot, I think that does make it worth it to make evil characters their own slot. I still understand why people are upset about that, but I'm not convinced it's the worst thing in the world yet. And then my wishful thinking list of that maybe not every single evil character is tied to its own evil character slot. We might still get evil variations of other characters that we've seen before. Again, I wouldn't pin your hopes on it like you would pin your hopes on the Spirit Bomb. I wouldn't pin your hopes on it. It's just something that could also possibly happen. And then the same thing with that gap we talked about earlier, where we could possibly be getting Android 19 and Dr. Gero, or perhaps Android 13 and some of his goons. Again, not something I would put your hopes on, but a little bit of wishful thinking from my end. I know it sounds like I was kind of sucking Dimps' dick this whole video, like, oh, you should still like him no matter what. And that's not the point. I just wanted to bring these numbers to light because I just think it's a way that not a lot of people have thought about it. So if I did happen to change your mind, or if you did look at the numbers or consider that Evil Variations might be worth their own slot and go, oh, you know what, Thundershot, you changed my mind, then I did my job. Or if I put out a bunch of these facts that maybe you hadn't looked at before and you're like, no, I still think it's dumb that they said 85 plus and that Evil characters their own slot and all this stuff, then that's totally okay too. My point wasn't to change your mind, it was just to give you a different way to look at information that we had, and I hope it helped open at least a couple people's eyes to it. That was the whole point of the video today. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for me today, guys. I want to thank you guys for coming out. I hope you guys enjoyed the Xenoverse 2 character analysis video. We get our hands on the beta in like a week, and we're going to go absolutely insane with that. So please keep an eye on the channel for more Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 content. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, because I'm about to go totally apeshit on this Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 stuff. Again, that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you guys for coming out. Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I'm Thundershot. I'm out. Peace late, and we will see you, everybody.